You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the Cricket Podcast. For those of you listening on the audio, and hello again to the Cricket Podcast. For those of you watching on YouTube, we are now on to the IPL. The retentions deadline is shortly upon us, and we're about to find out who is being kept by the 8 franchises as we head into the mega auction at the end of December / start of January, whenever that rolls around. And
it's sad that I'm buzzing, Max. It's really sad. But when it comes to like drafts, when it comes to like transfers,
I love a good draft.
It's great fun.
How excited people get about like the NFL draft and doing the NFL fancy stuff. It's the same sort of thing, isn't it? It's just cricket.
Yeah,
because you sport.
Yeah, because what's great is that we actually know what's going on. Because I have no idea what goes on in the NFL. Because it's too American, man. It's too American. But what is for me is that like this stuff, like we actually know what we're talking about, which is one a good thing. Two, we know
think we do anyway. Well,
we definitely do. Look at the people we predicted. We predicted CSK would win, didn't we, last year? And then when it comes to it, the teams, you know, there's going to be at least 2 or 3 teams that does something unbelievably stupid, and we're going to be able to laugh at it. Yep. So I for one,
and we also know which teams is going to. We always know which teams is going to be as well. So
Sunrisers Hyderabad.
Yes, but teams deciding who they want to retain from their squads before we head into the auction. So I guess I'll give a little rundown on how that works, and then we can get into each team and have a look at what they've done so far and whether we agree with it. How does that sound?
Yeah, so because teams can't just retain everyone, can they? We don't have to sit through the dumpster fire of some of these teams again, do we?
Thank God. No, 4. They can. The teams can keep up to 4 players from the retentions list. There's a maximum of 3 Indian players. No limits on whether they're capped or not, and a maximum of 2 overseas players. So you can do 3 and 1 or 2 and 2 if you're keeping 4. And sort of the price cap that comes out of your wage bill for the auction also changes depending on how many players you decide to keep. So if you keep 4 players, you forfeit 16 crore for the first player, 12 for the second, 8 for the third, and 6 for the fourth. If it's just the one player you retain, then it's 14 crore for them. And I'm not just going to read out another list of numbers. You can go and look it up. But essentially, you forfeit some money from your auction budget by keeping the players. Essentially that's pretty much all there is to it. You sort of negotiate with your players how much you want to play them. They don't have to stay. Were you going to ask a question, Ross?
So what happens with the 2 new teams? So obviously it's expanding from 8 to 10. So
indeed,
surely if you get to retain 4, do they get to pick up 4 new players from the pool of players that have been discarded?
That's a good question. So the 8 teams that get to keep players because they already exist, they get their retention deadline, which is up on the 30th of November, which is tomorrow as we're speaking. And then from the 1st of December to the 25th of December, the 2 new franchises can sign 3 players each from the pool of released players. So there has been some chit chat on the airways, on the grapevine, that Lucknow, the world's most expensive sporting franchise, I think, has been tapping up none other than King Legend, mooted for a whopping wage of 20 crore, which would make him by far and away the most expensive IPL player ever. And also Sunrisers have been complaining that they're trying to tap up Rashid Khan for 16 crore. But sort of that they could stop that happening themselves if they wanted to.
I just don't understand that at all. Like, that is absolutely mad that you're just going to pick up the ball eater for a record. Just why? What? It just makes no sense whatsoever. If you're really that right, we'll get into that. But that is instantly, I'm annoyed at King Legend Rahul and the thing around this aura he has around him.
Ross, it's not his fault.
It's not his fault. It's the people who don't know how to put teams together fault. So where should we start? So you covered the rules. So which team should we start? Should we start bottom up? Or should we just go in? Who's been confirmed? Let's see who's been confirmed, because I'm sure that there's been a released list, hasn't there?
There has been a released list. So we'll go in order of that list, shall we? On the team by team. That's how I copied it over from the ESPN Cricket Info article. So what's the order it's in? So starting off with the champions.
The cricket podcast, doing the reading so you don't have to.
Yeah, exactly. Starting with the champions, Ross. What better way to kick it off?
Yeah, big CSK.
Chennai Super Kings. They've supposedly confirmed the 4 that they're keeping.
Okay. I reckon is Jadeja.
Yep.
They've got to retain Moeen Ali.
Yep.
Because Gaikwad's probably going to be in there.
Yep.
And I can imagine they probably shouldn't do it, because this is it 3 years until the next mega auction after this? I think it is. So they're going to be stuck with this team, right? So the team that they go with, they're going to be pretty stuck with it. But they're going to pick Dhoni, aren't they? They have to pick Dhoni.
Spot on, Ross. 4 out of 4. And exactly how I had it written. The people I'd guessed before seeing this list was MS Dhoni, brackets, shouldn't really, but they will. Jadeja, Gaikwad, and Moeen Ali. And I don't think we can really... you can argue about whether or not you think it's worth spending all that money on MS Dhoni, but the other 3, you can't argue with it, can you? It's just logic.
Yeah, but it's also that bit, right? Like we spoke about it when Dan Weston's been on the show, and we know that cricket business comes in to this auction, right? It should just be, in theory, around you picking the best team you possibly can do to win you the game.
Mm-hmm.
You should be valuing the scarce resources that are in the market. So you want to be prioritizing good hitters of spin, and also provides a good set of overs like Moeen Ali does. You don't want to be spending loads of money on anchors and all that kind of stuff, because there's plenty in the domestic market. And actually, what value do they actually bring? There's typically an overvalue on the contribution of wicket keepers, as well as captains in T20 cricket. So, Max, this team, they've got 3 absolute. I think they've picked the right 3, and with Dhoni, like, who are we to judge that, right? Dhoni might play till he's 50.
He's a legend. Well, he might play till he's 64, Ross, if the if the song's anything to go by. That's a little teaser for Christmas. But yeah, I mean, it's just it's the right call, isn't it? They're the they've got the young guy in there, the young up and coming guy. They've got guys who are sort of early 30s, but still, like, they give you a bit of everything. All rounders is particularly one of those things that you need in the IPL, because there's not a whole lot of it about. You've got 2 of the best in those, and Jadeja's just phenomenal at everything. Moeen Ali's proven his worth in the IPL and in the England team in the World Cup, and
just smashing it in the T10. Unsurprisingly,
playing a bunch of farmers as well. So, yeah, I mean, there's not much more to say about that, really, is it? It's just they had a decision to make, and they made the right one.
Yeah, that's the thing. They've followed Hart over that. I mean, his keeping's on the decline. His batting is already declined, but his specialist captaincy role that adds 5 runs a game or whatever we've done the maths on actually might well be worth it. So all the power to the Chennai Super Kings that Max loves and adores. Who's next, Max?
Next up is RCB, Ross.
RCB. So I've got down for my guesses that they'll have Glenn Maxwell.
Mm-hmm.
They'll keep Padikal, because I think they need a bit of youth. They need a bit of youth in the team, and he's shown a bit of promise. They'll definitely retain Virat Kohli, which is a fucking disaster. And before you have a go at me in the comments, we know what you like below the line here. I know what you like. But he can't attack spin anymore. He's an anchor, so there's plenty of them about that you can get for cheaper. And he's not the captain anymore. He's resigned the captaincy. So there's a bit in here like, what's he actually doing? And that for that amount of money that you're going to pay to retain him, again, just doesn't make sense. It feels again like it's going to be a brand decision rather than anything else.
Yeah.
And then who would be the last pick? You said they're picking those 3. Well, they've got the purple cap holder in Harshal Patel. He's showed his worth. Chahal as well, the spinner, could also get a look in. The fact that AB de Villiers is now gone might give a position for them to say, no, actually, we need to retain KS Barat. But I think they could get better value on the market, I think.
Yeah, well, you also have to consider with these things how much of the salary cap you're giving up into the auction by doing this. So if you're spending like 10 crore on KS Barat, you're having a laugh, aren't you? It's madness.
Yeah, it's not the. We talk about how you use your scarce resources. That would be suboptimal.
Yeah. So I think that's unlikely. So supposedly they've confirmed they're keeping Kohli and Maxwell, and it might be that they don't keep any more than that, which would be silly because they should keep Padikkal because he's really good. But if they only kept 3, I don't think that would be the end of the world. I think Chahal or Siraj would be options as well. But
Siraj.
I don't see why they couldn't just. I mean, certainly in the spin department, I reckon they'd be able to pick up something equally good or better. To Chahal, there's if you consider what's going to be in the pool, which is going to be probably almost all of them. Siraj has been pretty good. Siraj is getting better. So I'd
faster as well.
Yeah,
thing.
I'd consider keeping Siraj, I think, because high quality Indian paces is again another one of those things that's not. There's not a huge number of them in terms of the player pool, and it saves you an extra spot for getting an overseas one to back them up. So that would, I'd think about keeping Siraj, but yeah, Maxwell's an obvious one, and keeping Kohli is, like you say, that's pure optics.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. Virat Kohli, supreme test player, supreme ODI
player. It was a test franchise. You'd keep him without even a shadow.
Yeah, you'd be the first one on the team sheet. But it's a bit like now. He's not 2016 or 17 Kohli where he hit 900 runs, is he? He just doesn't know what he's doing these days. So never mind on that front. Okay, who's next, Max?
Next up is KKR. I realise this isn't actually the order at all of what they're in the ESPN Cricket Info. I thought it's just the order I've written them down, but it's KKR next.
Shall I give you my guesses?
Yeah, please do.
I reckon they're going to keep Chakravarti.
Correct.
Jure Russ will be
correct.
On there. Venkatesh Iyer.
Correct.
And then last but not least, I mean, they've got Cumdog, haven't they? They've got Pat Cummins, who's the most expensive fast bowler of all time. Lockie Ferguson's in their ranks. Rana and Tripathi had good seasons last year. I thought actually they were the ones who kind of fired them into the playoffs. I'm not sure. I don't really. I think I just stick with the 3, but they can't because Dre Russ is there. They can. Yeah, I'd stick with 3. I'd go with 3. Chakravarti, Dre Russ, and Venki.
Well, they've done that. They've done those 3. They've also kept Ross. Sinon Orion.
Okay. Isn't he about 40? No, he's not. He's not a young chap. He's had problems with his action as well. He's had problems with he doesn't pass the fitness test, does he, for West Indies either?
West Indies, no. Sinon Orion's only 33. I think you've given him a few extra years there.
Yeah, a few extra years, 7 years. Yeah. Do you know what? Actually, I don't hate it.
No?
I don't hate that pickup.
He did have a very good back end of the IPL.
No, yeah, I don't hate it completely. I think Sinon Orion, he's been there and done it right. And that actually counts for something. You've seen the experience of CSK actually come through, and actually having the experience of him is a good thing. I don't think he's an opener, and I think they kind of realised that, and actually they used him, as you said, pretty well in the back end of the IPL. Interesting that they're not going to retain Owen Morgan, but that's probably because they can pick him up for about 10 lakh. And
a crisp packet. I'm not a fan.
No?
I'm really not a fan. I think they can do better. There'll be so many players in the pool who will be an upgrade on an aging Sinon Orion. I think it's a pedigree thing again, sort of what he's done in the past. So what he might do in the next 3 years. But yeah, I'd go with you on only keeping 3. I was thinking about who might be the 4th. I was thinking maybe Shubman Gill, but he doesn't score that quickly. I don't think he necessarily. He's
a test match opener. He's going to be a great test match opener.
A quick scoring test match opener. Not necessarily a thing. And some of the other guys you mentioned, like Tripathi and Rana, there's no point in like spunking a load of money on the wall on them because you'll get them in the auction for way less, I should think.
Yeah. Pat Cummins though, like New test who's kept up, but there's just that bit
again.
now,
If you're building a test team, you'd keep him.
yeah,
But I think there are better options in the T20.
yeah. Well, we didn't even mention Hazelwood for CSK because and he had a great year. But yeah, interesting that they're going to go with that lineup. But again, KKR is always a little bit strange. They don't quite. I mean, even Venkiaya, right? Venkiaya is recency bias kind of pickup. He's probably got quite a bit of upside. He's fulfilling the potential role of being a kind of medium pace bowler and a bit of a top order hitter. His strike rate is still below 130, like in the IPL. So it's not guaranteed that he's going to be brilliant,
risk, isn't it? It's unproven.
So, yeah, this he could be someone who is, I don't know, like is a bit of a flash in the pan. I think used in the other podcast, right? So maybe maybe he might be one of those. But I mean, we're Venkiaya fans at the moment, so hopefully he continues in that rich vein of form.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on from KKR to Mumbai Indians, Ross.
Well, just before we get going, Max, all of the listeners who are tuning in here, we would love to hear who you think should be retained. So put it in the comments, put it below the line. If you agree with us or not, just shout, and we will respond, because this stuff is actually really quite interesting, and seeing how people would go around building different things is actually fantastic. So sorry, Max, go on.
Yeah, Mumbai Indians, Ross. Who are they keeping on your mind?
Jasprit Bumrah, first name on any person's team sheet for T20 cricket, not even a shadow of doubt. I think they've got to back that Hardik Pandya will be back to full fitness at that point. I don't think they could leave him out there. I'd be going for Kieran Pollard. I think would be my oversight. I think he's too much of a risk going to another franchise, because he is a proper game winner. He is also a leader. In that he's got a bit of captain's experience. He's led in Rohit's absence throughout the last kind of couple of IPLs as well. So actually, I'd be going for Pollard. And that's a pretty strong spine that you've still got in that team, right? And you're not using up too many of your overseas spots. And then I'd be keeping someone like Ishan Kishan, I think, or Sky. I think either one of those actually in that team is probably what to go for. Kishan probably because he's a little bit younger. Yes, he struggled this year, but we kind of see it, right? If you were to do a little graph, sometimes they come in, hit a load of runs, have a poor season because they just say, "Oh shit, people have found me out," but actually then their talent starts to come through again. So I think I'd be going for Kishan.
And we've seen that lately, haven't we? Especially with the move up to the top of the order for Kishan.
Yeah,
he's a difference.
He's an exciting player, isn't he? He's an exciting player. So that means there'll be no Rohit Sharma in my retention.
Well, that's the Rohit Sharma in Mumbai Indians retention, Ross. There's a Rohit Sharma and there's a Jasprit Bumrah, and that's it so far.
Okay.
Possible that they're still trying to make their decision about the last two, because I agree it would be a huge mistake to let go someone like Ishan Kishan or Pandya or Pollard, because that's one of those things again that's in short supply, isn't it? That lower order hitter who can bowl a bit. I think it maybe depends on what Pandya's fitness is like with the bowling, but yeah, I'd be keeping this. I'd be on the same page as you largely, and yeah, Rohit.
I can see it if they get rid of
maybe. He's a winning captain.
Yeah,
you wouldn't want him somewhere else.
Yeah, and he's also Mr. Mumbai Indians, right? Like he's won it with them a few times now. But there is a bit for me. Like again, he feels. I don't know, it just feels like he's on the decline as a T20 opening batsman. Maybe he moves down the order, but does that actually suit his technique? I don't think so. Does that actually just cause more problems than it's worth? I can see them. I can see that if they just go, do you know what? Actually, Ishan Kishan didn't have a very good year. Sky is probably, I don't know. Like, is Sky going to be in the prime of his life now? Like, he's coming to it, right? It's a big decision to make, but yeah, I think I'd be trying to like this Mumbai Indians lineup.
I mean, if they're in the player pool, I'm going in. If I'm a new franchise and Sky and Ishan Kishan are there, I'm going straight in.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ray. And I think that Mumbai Indians, people forget very quickly of how good that side was. They might have had a tough year, this one, but actually sometimes the conditions don't suit you. Sometimes people are out of form, right? Class is permanent, as we well learned from CSK's renaissance this year. Breaking up that whole franchise seems a bit short-sighted to me, Max.
Yeah. obviously have to break it up to a certain degree, but yeah, I'd be keeping more than 2.
Hmm.
Right, we're halfway there, but I think we can probably get through the last 4 in slightly quicker fashion than the first 4.
All right, who we got next?
Delhi Capitals is next. They've already announced their 4, Ross. So
Yeah.
they've gone for Rishabh Pant, Prithvi Shaw, Akshar Patel, and Amrik Nortje. My point of view on that is that that's very obvious, and the only potential space for an argument would be between Nortje and Rabada.
And I think Nokia's got the numbers on him, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think Rabada's just a bit expensive.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. And I think Pant is obviously their current captain. He's a brilliant player, good wicket keeper, and actually just going to be around for the next decade or so. I think it's a good pickup, good retention. Sorry, Prithvi Shaw again started off well, had a really really shit season, and then last year the guy was on fire. The guy,
pretty much single-handedly propelled them to the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they were going back for Darwan in the player pool. Hopefully, they'll pick up Steve Smith, though. That'd be a disaster. But yeah, Nortje is a good pickup. Akshar, obviously a decent spinner. I don't think he offers as much with the bat as other people, but actually he's developing his skill set. I don't think they could have gone for Ashwin again. I don't think Ashwin, as much as he will probably continue to play and be a thorn in the side for a lot of teams, I think they probably made the right decision there to build a team of not quite inexperienced, but a younger generation of people coming through, right? And I think they've always had their eye on doing that, and I think they set themselves up for success there.
Yep. No Shreyas Iyer though. No retainment for Shreyas Iyer. I think we'd probably agree again. It's like
not
the
a T20 player. He's not a T20 Supremo,
He's a quality player, but yeah, it's not going to be first on your list for those. But I'm sure he'll get picked up reasonably expensively by someone. Mm-hmm. Next up, Rajasthan Royals. Just the one name confirmed so far. Can you guess who it is?
The skipper, Samson.
Correct.
Rajasthan's an interesting one. Obviously, I'm donning the beautiful pink hat. But they've got some great players on their books, and they've also got some absolute
dross.
Yeah, dross. Yeah, that's the polite term. But they're not
that polite.
They were unfortunate with injuries. Like Jofra Archer's obviously.
Yeah, you'd retain him if he were there.
Him and Bumrah 1 and 2, right? In that kind of in the pace bowling department in T20 cricket. I think if they are concerned about his injury, that can be the only reason they're not thinking of retaining him. He's pretty much would have had pretty much a year out at that point. It's a big risk to go in with. I think Joss Buttler is like a supreme opening batsman. Hasn't consistently done it in the IPL. He's done pretty well. He's done. I think how I'd feel about it. I think he's done pretty well.
Did it at the World Cup.
He did do it in the World Cup. But is there better options out there in terms of where you want your overseas players to be from, right? Where do you want them in the pecking order? I mean, I'd
have Joss Buttler in without even thinking.
I would have Joss Buttler in as well without even thinking about it. Like, don't get me wrong. And the fact that they're not picking up Jofra kind of gives them that freedom to do that, right? Because then they've also got Livingston, who they just didn't seem to rate. They didn't use him at all well. They didn't bowl him. It proved in the World Cup that he's a more than capable. It just shows you how badly run some of these franchises are, right? And where they're just like, Glenn Phillips, why don't you have a bowl? The guy's like an outfielder at best.
He's a wicket keeper. God's sake.
I know. And then they've also got Chris Morris on the books, right? Remember Chris Morris came in as a replacement. He didn't look his best in the UAE, so I can imagine they're just like, do you know what, let's cut our losses on that one.
He's also a bit old, isn't he?
Yeah. The only other thoughts I had was around they've obviously bled some youngsters over the last couple of years in Tyagi, Jaiswal, and Sakuria.
Sakuria, yeah.
Not Shakira. So I was there might have been like an opportunity there. Like if you are playing those, I know they're playing them almost out of necessity because they blow all their budget on Ben Stokes. But why bleed them and then give them to other franchises, right? That whole approach has to be torn up and start again.
Well, you can obviously they can bid for them back, and I expect they will. I think the problem is that you wouldn't necessarily want to again like tie up 8 crore or 7 crore on one of the young guys that you bought for 40 lakh. last year. So I suspect we'll see them maybe go back in for some of those young guns who were looking quite good. But in terms of the retentions, I think, apart from Butler,
Josh Butler,
I don't know who else I'd be going for.
Putting Josh Butler and Livingston back in the pool seems a bit silly to me.
Yeah,
I don't
but again, like Livingston, he was cheap. He's so cheap.
Yeah, well, he might not be next time round.
He won't be. I don't think he'll be as cheap, but I still think he's not going to go for anywhere near what those salary caps are. I think there's a lot of that thinking involved as well.
Yeah, and it's an exciting time for Rajasthan Royals as well, right? When you get to rip it up and start again, that's quite a fun time.
I'll tell you who isn't thinking clearly though.
Yes, please.
The Sunrisers Hyderabad, Ross. If
I've
you could pick one person in the Sunrisers side to retain, who would it be?
David Warner would be my favorite. So obviously it's Rashid Khan, and I've seen what's going on at the moment. I've seen that they're going to that there's Punjab King. Oh no, not Punjab King. Lucknow have been trying to tap him up and say, look, there's loads of money over here. There's rumours that he wants to be first retention pick, not second retention pick. Clearly,
just make him first retention pick.
So what are Sunrisers even thinking?
Just give him 14 crore and be done with it.
What are they thinking of? Like genuinely, he is the best T20 bowler, and he's going to be the best T20 bowler of all time. There's no doubt about it. Like the guy, or at least the best spinner. Like Bumrah maybe will be up there, but you know what I mean. Like this guy is supreme. He knows what he's doing. He literally scares the shit out of every other team that their whole approach is to bat him out. So for 4 overs, you pretty much have a trump card that you can play every single game and you know he's going to deliver. What are they? And they're going to retain Kane Williamson as their only retention. What the fuck are they doing?
They deserve to come bottom for the next 10 years for that. Honestly, it's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense.
And my bit on here is that the owners should be turning around and going, do you know what? Do I want to retain the management team in Sunrisers Hyderabad, who led me to high-class embarrassment last year, and we picked Kedar Yadav for half the fucking games. Sworn a lot on this podcast, so apologies. But that is just infuriating.
Yeah, you're
absolutely
right
infuriating. Like get rid of all the leadership team and just be like, do you know what? We are going to start again. Rashid Khan, you can be captain. You can be our only pick that we retain. Go for it. I mean, they've got some other decent players, right? Johnny Bairstow in that. So I know we're we're England fans, but that guy is a supreme opening batsman. Like you should be picking him. Like I think that's a missed opportunity. I'm guessing that they're not going to retain Umar Malik and Abdul Samad purely on the fact that they are cheaper.
Yeah,
but I mean those two, I think were the bit. You got pace with Malik, and Samad has shown some promise, right? He hits more sixes per ball than anyone else.
You're not gonna retain a guy who's got 2 IPL wickets for 10 crore. That'd be again silly. Completely insane. But
wouldn't put it past him.
He looks exciting, so I think there'll be some interest in him. And the only one you might think about keeping Boovy because he's
not
pedigree, but
Boovy. I reckon all the medium paces, right? So Deepak Chahar, Harsha Patel, Boovy, like as much as they're all
Avesh
good.
Khan.
Yeah, Avesh Khan's probably a little bit quicker and a little bit more exciting because he's younger.
There's a bunch of younger guys.
There's so many people in that bracket that I think you can afford to be like, do you know what we're doing here? But I think that they should be going right. We're going to retain Rashid Khan. I don't think spending all that money on Johnny Bairstow is probably the best use of that fund. But if there was going to be someone you had to pick, I'd probably go with him. But then they'd need to pick 2 other Indian players, right? So they have to probably just pick Rashid. But the fact they're going with Kane Williamson for 14 crore, Kane Williamson must be laughing. Like that is bananas behaviour. We know Kane Williamson. Kane Williamson is amazing. He's a brilliant captain. He's a brilliant batsman. Is he, though, the best T20 option that you possibly could do for Sunrisers? No. It's a simple answer. There are plenty more anchors in the sea, so to speak.
Very good.
Thank you. I thought you'd enjoy that one.
We love a nautical theme.
What an absolute dumpster fire Sunrisers Hyderabad continues to be.
Absolutely disastrous bit of business there, and long may they fail.
I'll tell you what. We should, because we're expanding the IPL teams now. Oh, they're expanding the IPL teams. It might be a case of going back into the hat and see if I can get the team that Rashid Khan goes to.
Yeah. Maybe we should. I'm not redrawing. I'm cello through and through.
I'm joking. I'll never give up this hat.
Last but not least, Ross, the Comedy Kings, the Punjab Kings. Now looks like they are just ripping up the entire copybook and starting from scratch.
Okay, I'm all right with that. Like their team is a very interesting, cobbled together piece of rubbish. It's got
it's like you're giving a kid a bunch of old, soda bottles and some straws, and be like, "Go on, make something out of that." Yeah, Daddy, I made a rocket. Well done. It's shit.
And there's some talent in that team, right? There's some talent like King Legend. Like, what a unbelievable player. Like the guy hits loads of runs, but at the detriment to the team on the majority of occasions.
I'd like to see him in a team that's full of really good players, so that we can test whether this theory is true or not.
That would be nice. Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Is him going to Lucknow, or is it Ahmedabad is the other one? Is it that him going to a new franchise actually the best thing for KL Rahul as well, right? Yeah. If he wants to continue to be the big fish in a little pond, fine, gonna go do that. But the amount of a stick that we've got I've definitely got for saying he's the ball eater, and the fact that he should be doing more. Oh, it's team orders. He's just following team orders.
Well, if a new franchise is going to go and spend nearly a quarter of their budget on one guy, he's definitely going to be a big fish in a small pond. There's no doubt about that.
Absolute stupidity. I think someone like Agarwal would be a great pickup for some of these other sides if they're not retaining him. He's probably a bit too expensive to retain. Arshdeep Singh, Ravi Bishnoi.
I'll rate.
Harpreet Brar as well.
You're not going to spend 14 crore on Ravi Bishnoi.
No, and there's some good talent there. But like Aidan Markram had a good T20 World Cup, but again, you're not going to spend that much money on him. David Milan again, Adil Rashid, no. So yeah, those guys. I mean, Chris Gale, he'll be in the auction. He'll definitely be in the auction. But I think you'll be able to pick him up for not a lot anyway. In one way, I'm very happy for them that they're getting to redo all of this. But one of my first acts as the owner of Punjab Kings, would be to get rid of Anil Kumble.
Yeah.
Anyway,
he comes in with some blame for KL Rahul's approach as well. He's another reason people offer for him not playing to his full potential at the top of the order. So maybe that's the right call. Who knows? But it'll be interesting to see what they do at the auction with Anil Kumble in charge. Whether they end up with a load of rubbish or they completely rewrite the history books and become the best franchise ever. Who knows?
So
it's the beauty of the mega auction.
Yeah, well, I think just to surmise, then I think some of it doesn't make any sense as we definitely could have expected. Some of it is just complete, just brand focused rather than actually going on performances. We know this is a business, so we can understand that. But actually, if you're trying to win the IPL, surely that is a much better barometer of your success as a franchise and success as a brand than having one individual. The next auction is 3 years away, so you've got to make this decision and then live with it. Like some of these retentions could seriously backfire and limit the ability they've got to be flexible in the mega auction. And always focus on, as we said at the start, you've got to focus on retaining these scarce resources. There's no point in retaining certain types of players when others out there's only, say, 5 Moeen Ali types out there. So you've got Moeen Ali, Glenn Maxwell, Jadeja. Like you start to run out pretty quickly of actually who are the supreme all-rounders with the bat and ball. And then you've got other teams who are looking like they're completely shifting away from what has worked in case of Mumbai Indians or what hasn't worked in some of the other franchises. So I think it's going to be barnstorming. I think between now and Christmas, is it? Now and 25th of December, the two new teams got 3 people to choose from. Do they have their own little mini auction? Like, how does that work? Or do they?
I think they just sort of just go chat to them and try and get them on board, a bit like signing up free agents sort of thing.
Okay, all right. Well, good luck to them. Well, good luck now to those teams, and we shall see what comes out of, and we'll keep a close eye and obviously always report back on what's happening in the IPL.
Yeah. Looking forward to the draft as well. The big auction.
Yeah, maybe we'll have a draft party.
That'd be good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Drink along.
Get Benny Howell on the show. Live and breathe it with him. If you didn't catch that interview, we had Benny Howell on the show last week, who was great. He's one of the T20's best innovators in terms of bowling, all kinds of different deliveries. He's currently performing very well for Bangla Tigers in the T10, so you should go and check out that interview.
Lovely. Well, I think that's a wrap, isn't it, Ross? That's the IPL retentions. Well, our take on what might happen. That's done and dusted, and we will see whether these guys listen to any of our advice tomorrow when things are finalised, and maybe we'll do a bit of reaction next week when everything's finalised, depending on how different it is to what it was now. If it's all the same, then there's no point, is there? Because we'll just be doing the same shit over and over again. But we'll see. We'll see. Any final messages for the listeners, Ross, before we call it a night?
We're sponsored by Woodstock Cricket. Use code TCP25 for 25% off. Follow us at the Cricket Pod on Twitter and Instagram, and like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you very much for listening.
Bye-bye.
You're listening to the Cricket